Professor Antonios Kouroutakis from Instituto de Empresas e from Madrid. And he is visiting us here at FGV on the Global Law program. So, Professor, thank you very much for coming to Brazil and for being with us with this experience. And we would like to thank you for the experience. And in order for us to start, I would ask you, what about your course here? You came to speak in a course of 1 week, and what were the subject? What do you bring with yourself here to Brazil?
Thank you, Paulo. It was a great pleasure to be here in Sao Paulo at FGV. I had a wonderful week. I spent 5 days and I taught a course about the law of startups. It's a new course. I have the understanding that we have to change the way we teach the courses. We need to bring a more thematic approach on the course. This course is about the new phenomenon, the word that we know, startups. So whenever I travel, I ask, okay, how do you call startups in Portuguese? Startups. How do you call startups in Spanish? Startups. So all over the world, it's the same concept, but we need to put a theoretical framework. So what I did in my course, I put the theoretical framework and I discussed how it affects the law and what are the main challenges for startups that we face currently. And
did you have a class of students of all around the world, or just Brazilian students?
The vast majority were students from Brazil, but also we had some students, visiting students from the US and the Netherlands. In total, I had 40 students. It was a very creative class. We have very informative discussions. Also, we had graduate students in the program who had the experience, the practical experience of working with startups. And this brought a richness in the class. To be honest, I think that I learned a lot also from the students, and that was a great benefit for me as well.
Ah, really nice. So, Professor, regarding this startup subject, we are seeing many transformations in society, in economy, and in law internationally. So what do you think, how do you think this startup phenomenon will change or will shape economy and society from now to the future? Do you have anything to say about it?
Yes, the startups, they have a common element. They don't follow the path dependence. They have the understanding of innovation, of disruptive innovation, and because of that, they challenge constant norms. So occasionally they might neglect the legal structure of some legal orders. And on the top of that, due to globalization, they are able and they have the capacity to work in different legal orders. So when we as lawyers, we face a group of people who want to found a startup, we need to have a broader understanding about what is the mentality of these people, what do they want to do, what kind of examples do we have that failed in order to avoid such cases, and what are the best cases, what are the top examples that can lead and form the paradigm for successful startups.
Okay. Really nice. While you were explaining, I was wondering here, because like innovation and startups are really two subjects that come together and go together. And one thing that we feel here in Brazil, and I believe it's internationally felt, is that when you have a really innovative idea and you want to shape it into a legal form, like there are so many regulations and so many rules that sometimes it's really hard for the entrepreneur or for the people or for the person with that innovative idea to put it in practice and actually make money about it. So do you think the legal system will face any kind of transformation or change in order to deal with this new with this innovation trend that we are passing through?
So what we have seen in practice, that the startups, when we have a new company, they might neglect the legal framework, and the legislators and the courts, they have a difficulty to categorize the startups. And this is the case with Uber. We had a very interesting discussion in the class whether Uber is a transportation company or whether it is a company about the information society services. And we had a very creative discussion, and during that discussion, students brought in the class examples and arguments about their opinion on the topic. And then we also discussed the current case from the European Court that classified Uber as a transportation company. But since the foundation of Uber worked as a startup, but it wasn't clear whether it was a transportation company or an information society service. So this is the issue that we face. We don't know how to categorize startups, and we don't know which regulation we have to impose to them. And this is something that we, the lawyers, we need to face. Probably we'll need different categories for startups that are of a hybrid nature.
Really nice. So, considering this European Court award that you mentioned, do you think this is the end of discussion or probably the beginning of the discussion?
It is for sure the beginning of the discussion. We have also seen cases where a court decision was able to kill the project, and this is the case of Napster. And Napster was the first P2P platform. It was very avant-garde, and this project died because the courts in the US found that we had some violation of intellectual property rights. On the contrary, we had cases with YouTube, which was a similar case, but because the lawyers of YouTube, they managed to change the structure and the terms and conditions of YouTube, they made it compatible to the legal framework. So this is something that we need to take into account. How we, the lawyers, we can use creatively the existing legal framework in order to save a startup.
And regarding legal teaching or like the legal education, do you think we professors, we're going to have to change the way we teach in order to achieve or in order to give our students what they will be the professionals of the future? Do you think they're going to have to change some like traditional mindsets that we are used to teach them in law schools? What do you think the adaptations or the innovations that we as professors we're going to have to face in order to give them the tools that they need to work in this new market?
Well, despite the fact that I'm not that experienced, my understanding is that what is interesting for the students is when we, the professors, we bring cases and examples in the class from daily life, from current situations. So we, the professors, we have to be up to date. We have to know what is happening around the world. We have to bring new cases in the class because these cases, these stories attract the interest of the students, and in the end, this is what they remember. Before reading any books, they remember the stories. So I think that we have to be up to date. We have to follow the news. We have to follow what's happening in the market, and then bring it in the class.
So in the end of the day, it's not that we have to change so much. We will still keep telling them stories, but the stories has to be updated, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right, Professor Antonios, it was a pleasure to have you here at FGV. We hope we can count on you sooner, any other opportunity, and please receive our thankful and our good recommendations from being here and for being so kind in having this conversation with me. Thank you very much.
The pleasure was mine. Thank you.
Thank you.